Part 28. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 271. At the end of the sentence, Aunt Sue was a little incoherent. Although you don't look like your dad, you look a lot like your grandpa, so I feel familiar at first glance, friendly at second glance, and I can identify you and the Guan family with just 3 glances. There must be a blood relationship. However, Feng Qingxiu and Guan Cheng listened to her thoughtfully, and then Guan Cheng told her that he had a younger brother named Guan Yu. It is said that my brother is very similar to my father and my aunt. Your dad and your aunt look alike. Seeing a grandnephew was enough to surprise Aunt Sue. Suddenly she heard that there was another grandnephew. She was so excited that she almost fainted and asked repeatedly, "You have a younger brother?" I have 2 grandnephews." Really? Really? She couldn't believe it. Guan Cheng nodded and said, "Au is my father's posthumous son. He is 7 years old this year." Aunt Sue clasped her hands together and bowed to the door. God bless, thank you, God, thank you. Thank you, God, for leaving my Guan family with a glimmer of hope and 2 children." Guan Cheng said, "What's the use of thanking God? The one who should be thanked the most is my aunt." Aunt Sue looked at Feng Qingxiu, her eyes full of questions. "Xiaoxiu, why did Guan Cheng call you aunt?" Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "My mother-in-law's surname is Lu, have you forgotten? I used to be a landlord, and my deceased sister-in-law is the niece you call Ling Long. Now Akan and Au live in my house, and they follow Tianwan. Tianzi calls me aunt. Tianjun and Tianzi are sister-in-law Ling Long's 2 children, my Ajiang's nephews." Aunt Sue thought about it for a long time before she figured out the relationship. She was surprised and happy. Unexpectedly, there is such a coincidence. Your partner is Ling Long's brother-in-law. Yes. I think it was you who suggested that I meet Ajiang. Aunt Sue touched her heart and remembered. At that time, Feng Qingxiu was hesitant because of Lu Jiang's family background. Later, she made some suggestions of her own, but unexpectedly it turned out to be the case. They fell in love at first sight, fell in love with each other again, and finally got married this year and now have a child. Feng Qingxiu was already pregnant now, and her walking posture was not as nimble as before. Aunt Sue could tell at the first glance that all her attention was on Guan Cheng, and she did not confirm her pregnancy to Feng Qingxiu. This is really incredible. This is incredible." Aunt Sue was filled with emotion. It turned out that she and Feng Qingxiu were so deeply involved. Thinking of Guan Cheng saying that Feng Qingxiu should thank Feng Qingxiu, she couldn't help but have doubts in her heart and asked. Guan Cheng told her about his 2 brothers living outside their homes after their mother remarried, and about Feng Qingxiu saving Guan Yu's life. Feng Qingxiu hurriedly said, "You should thank my father-in-law. My father asked someone to find out the whereabouts of the 2 children, and it was not convenient for him to come forward, so I was the one who went. In fact, the person who should be grateful the most is not me, but my father-in-law." Aunt Sue said seriously, "Everyone should be grateful, everyone should be grateful. Xiaoxiu, your family are all benefactors of our Guan family. They are all. Guan Cheng and Guan Yu are the only 2 bloodlines of the declining Guan family. In this situation in this world, it is difficult for them to survive on their own. It is a kindness greater than heaven for you to adopt them and take care of them. Feng Qingxiu is also the benefactor of their Su family." However, Feng Qingxiu had been warned not to tell others about the food she gave them, so in front of Guan Cheng, Aunt Sue also kept her promise to Feng Qingxiu and did not mention her favor to her family. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 272. After exchanging their lives, Aunt Sue solemnly said to Feng Qingxiu, "Xiaoxiu, these 2 children will trouble you and your family from now on. I don't want my relationship with Guan Cheng to be known to outsiders, so I can't take care of him blatantly. He finally settled in your place with Guan Yu as a street child, and don't have anything to do with his previous family background. Their identities are very sensitive, and there is no benefit in getting involved. Auntie, you don't need to be so polite. Raising Aiken and Au is what our family should do. Feng Qingxiu agreed with Aunt Su's meaning. If you don't tell me, I also want to tell you, who is this family? It's okay for us to know. The real cultural catastrophe has not yet come. How can Feng Qingxiu dare to take risks? Even now, Uncle Su and Aunt Su are living under the watchful eyes of others, with no personal freedom. Aunt Su kept nodding. Suddenly, she remembered the letter she had received recently. Xiaoxiu, thank you, thank you. My daughter is married, to Cao Yang. Cao Yang? Isn't he a Jiang's comrade in arms? Feng Qingxiu told Lu Zhang that Aunt Su's 2 children were in Baidawang, so Lu Zhang wrote a letter to Cao Yang to take care of the 2 sisters. Unexpectedly, they actually led to a marriage. The wrinkles on Aunt Su's face relaxed. Yes, at that time you wrote to trust Cao Yang to take care of my 2 children. Somehow, he fell in love with my Miao Miao. Because of the conditions, they held the ceremony there. It's a simple wedding, and the wedding time is not short. I just got the letter. Moreover, Xingxin, who was in Baidawang with Miao Miao, was also arranged by Cao Yang to join the corps. He was well-read and literate. If you are stronger, you will have a chance to join the corps. After hearing this, Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, Auntie, you should be relieved, right? Su Miao doesn't have to worry about her future life since she has a husband, and Su Xian has a job, which is much better than clearing wasteland and farming. When chatting with Aunt Su, you can hear her worry about her daughter in and out of her words, because Su Miao is very beautiful, and in this world, beautiful girls can easily get into trouble. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Now, Lao Su and I have nothing to worry about. My daughter has someone to rely on for life, and her son doesn't have to worry about his work. The descendants of her mother's family are safe and sound, and they will be under Feng Qingxiu's care in the future. Will thrive. Aunt Su has no worries and feels relaxed all over. Aunt Su was thinking about the property in her hands. Feng Qingxiu had to provide living expenses to support the descendants of the Guan family. Before she could say anything, Feng Qingxiu said, my nephew Tianjun is still waiting for us in front of the mill. Madam, Aiken and I will leave first. I will bring Aiken to visit you tomorrow if I have a chance. When Aunt Su heard this, she quickly took out her handkerchief and gave it to Guan Cheng. Aiken, take it. If you don't have any money to spend in the future, come and see my aunt again. Don't be polite to my aunt, ah. Guan Cheng pushed back, Auntie, no, I live at my aunt's house. I don't have to spend a dime for food, clothing, and school. I don't need the money you give me. You can keep it for yourself and buy some delicious food. In addition to in Auntie's family, Au and I only have you as our relative. You may live a long life and tell me about our family's past when you have the opportunity. He has been wandering around with his younger brother since he was a child. He has long forgotten the past of the Guan family, and Father Lu doesn't know much about it. Aunt Su forced it to him, take what my aunt gave you, the elders are indebted to you. I will tell you everything about our family from now on. You can't let the Guan family be in trouble just because of it. The past of the Guan family is lost in the long river of history. I'll make up for it tomorrow, I'll make up for it tomorrow. The time in the afternoon is all calculated by God. Oh, you are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 273. Aunt Su insisted on giving it to Guan Cheng, so she changed hands on the way to the mill and gave it to Feng Qingxiu. He didn't even look at how much money was in the handkerchief bag. Feng Qingxiu took it away and said to him with a smile, "Your uncle's salary is not low, and he also has a subsidy. Our family is not short of money at all. Keep what your aunt gave you for your convenience in the future." She was afraid that Guancheng would be overly concerned, so she immediately said, "Let's see how much money your aunt gave you and whether you have any tickets. In the past, your aunt's money and tickets were all put together in a handkerchief. I know it very well. If you want to use your tickets to buy something to take home, I will definitely not object to such a good thing." After hearing this, Guancheng opened his handkerchief bag while walking. Sure enough, in addition to money, there was also a stack of tickets. Food stamps, cloth stamps, soap stamps, candy stamps, egg stamps. "Can't accept it," Guancheng stopped and said, "Aunt, I want to send it back to my aunt." "Why?" Feng Qingxiu asked gently. In fact, she knew what Guancheng was thinking, so she still asked. Guancheng said seriously, "The city is different from us in the countryside. We are self-sufficient. As for them, it is difficult for them to live without tickets and money. Besides, the food our family just distributed is enough to eat, and our aunts make it for us. Clothes are usually subsidized by my uncle's military supply tickets, but my aunt's tickets are dispensable to us." Feng Qingxiu patted him on the shoulder, "Then just send him back. I'll wait for you here." After only walking for a few minutes, Feng Qingxiu felt relieved to let Guancheng go back alone. "Okay, auntie, wait for me." Guanchen Fei ran back the same way, while Feng Qingxiu was bored and admired the scenery in the city and the people coming and going. "Compared to last year, I seem a little more angry now. This time next year, the atmosphere in the city should be better, right? According to the records in the space data, the famine will end at next summer's harvest, which means next year will be a good harvest year in most areas. Although the yield per mu is still very low, it is much better than during the famine." Just as she was thinking about it, she suddenly heard someone calling her from behind. Feng Qingxiu looked back and didn't recognize the old woman in simple clothes for a long time. She couldn't help but said, "You're calling me? Who are you?" The old woman said, $48.57. Feng Qingxiu was stunned. "Are you the lady I met in the department store? You reminded me to go to the second-hand counter to buy clothes and shoes. The 48 yuan and 57 cents was the money given by the other party when the two of them traded later. Number. If you look closely, it seems that it is really her, basically unchanged." It's me," the old woman was extremely excited. "When I took a quick look, I didn't dare to recognize her. My daughter, you have changed a lot since then. You dress, behave, and speak completely differently." Feng Qingxiu smiled. How can anything remain the same? At that time, she had not traveled long ago, and it was obvious to all that the original owner had a sallow complexion and thin skin. Now, even though I habitually wear a square scarf and a big hat, I can still see that my complexion is fair and rosy, and my clothes are all new without patches because of my new marriage to Lu Jiang. The old woman took Feng Qingxiu's hand and shook it, her face full of joy. "Daughter, what are you doing in the city? It's not easy to meet you. You must go to my house to sit down and let our whole family thank you. If it hadn't been for your generous action, my daughter, our family would not be in the same situation now. That batch of food really saved a family's life." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 274. The old woman didn't dare to explain too clearly how Feng Qingxiu had taken action in a righteous manner before, but she and Feng Qingxiu knew it well. Feng Qingxiu did not agree at all. "Madam, I will visit you when I have time, but I won't go today. My nephew is waiting for me at the mill." Yes, you must be busy with something when you come to the city." The old woman did not feel disappointed. "I will leave you an address. My dear, if you are free one day, you can come and sit down." She gave her home address and told Feng Qingxiu that her husband's surname was Zheng. "Okay, Aunt Zheng, I will definitely bother you tomorrow." Aunt Zheng smiled and nodded. She suddenly looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to them. She said to Feng Qingxiu, "Daughter, let me tell you something. It depends on your decision whether you want to do it or not." "What's the matter? Tell me." Aunt Zheng leaned close to her ear and whispered, "I often go in and out of various black markets, and I see many neighbors in them. Everyone tacitly understands that everyone is trying to survive, and no one wants to. Who will I report? There is a neighbor in our building who is an old sister with me. She told me that his son didn't know how to get some good things, they were gold, and he didn't dare to go to the bank. The outcrops let people know that now that the storm has passed, the food has come down again, so I want to change it." Feng Qingxiu said hesitantly, "Our family's food has been divided, but it is just enough for our family to make ends meet." She didn't agree. Aunt Zheng was not surprised and said with a smile, "Daughter, you are a good person and you are so kind to our family. I just think those things are good and it would be a pity if they fall into the hands of others. Now let me tell you, if you want to change, I'll give you a clue. If you don't want to change, forget it. Anyway, gold and silver are external possessions, not as important as food." Feng Qingxiu nodded. After Lu Jiang's reminder, she really didn't dare to deal with people who didn't understand her. What's more, she now has no shortage of gold, silver, and jewelry, and she doesn't have the same desire as she did at the beginning. There is no woman in the world who does not love jewelry, but safety is more important than jewelry. Seeing that she had no intention of making a deal, Aunt Zheng stopped mentioning it. The two parted happily. Aunt Zheng left, and Feng Qingxiu also waited for the panting Guancheng. "Have you returned everything to your aunt?" "Repaid," Guancheng said while panting. "I haven't paid back the money, but my aunt still refused to take it. She was not willing to take the tickets back at first, so I managed to persuade her before I returned them to her, leaving only a few feet of cloth tickets and a few kilograms of cotton wadding. Let's go to the department store to buy cloth and cotton wadding after the flour is ground. Auntie has time to make swaddling clothes for the little brother or sister born next year." Feng Qingxiu felt warm in her heart. "Then I will thank you on behalf of my brothers and sisters for thinking about them." The two of them walked towards the mill as they talked. Before they got there, they saw Lu Tianjun standing on the mule cart and waving hard to them. Then he put his hands in a trumpet shape to his mouth and shouted, "Aunt Aiken, hurry up, it's our turn now." Feng Qingxiu and Guancheng immediately quickened their pace. Sure enough, there was only an old man carrying a load in front of them. When it was their turn, the staff in charge of processing asked directly, "What kind of noodles do you grind?" "Flour, cornmeal, and rice." After Feng Qingxiu finished speaking, Guancheng and Lu Tianjun also brought in the grain. "Corn, wheat, rice." The staff opened it and looked at it, then asked, "Finishing or roughing?" Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 275. After listening to the staff, Feng Qingxiu asked, "Is there any difference?" "Rough processing means whole wheat flour, brown rice, and cornmeal are also coarse. Fine processing is the opposite. According to your requirements, the flour can produce special first flour and special second flour. According to the flour extraction rate, it can be divided into 20 flour, 30 flour, and up to 80 flour. Rice is also white rice." Feng Qingxiu didn't understand what the staff meant at all. "Just process polished rice and white flour for us. The best and finest white flour, the best white rice, and the corn flour as fine as possible." "Are they all special grade?" "Okay. Special powder, polished white rice." The staff asked the person to be weighed first without saying a word. The processing fee was calculated based on the weight of the grain, which was 1 penny per pound. Feng Qingxiu paid the fee first. Note, I really can't find any information about grain processing fees calculated based on the price of finished grains. It should be about 1 cent. If you have information about this, you can leave a message, and then I will modify the price. Thank you. The 100 kilograms of wheat washed by Feng Qingxiu was actually an approximate number, not precise. Now after weighing it, I found out that it was 103 kilograms. In this way, she washed more than 100 kilograms at the beginning. 103 kilograms of wheat produced a total of 70 kilograms of flour. Because there was no bleaching powder, it was not snow white, but slightly yellow. 98 gins of rice yielded 60 gins of white rice and about 10 gins of broken rice. The loss of corn is small. The bran is separated from the wheat, and the husk is removed from the rice. There is no loss in this aspect of corn flour, so more than 200 kilograms of corn produce 200 kilograms of cornmeal. During the processing, the white rice and cornmeal are directly put into the cloth bags that Feng Qingxiu washed and dried. With the help of the staff, the grain was loaded onto the truck and left the entrance of the mill, allowing the people in line behind to go in for processing. Then the three Feng Qingxiu Niangs looked at me and I looked at you, and they all laughed. It turned out that the two children were not wearing bamboo hats, and their heads and faces were covered in dust and white. Feng Qingxiu, who was wearing a bamboo hat and a square scarf, was in a better situation than them, except that her clothes and bamboo hat were covered with a layer of dust. Hurry up, Feng Qingxiu took off the square scarf from her neck, shook off the dust, and then used it as a feather duster to beat the dust off their bodies. Her movements were very gentle, and Lu Tianjun took it. He and Guancheng beat each other, and then helped Feng Qingxiu dust the dust on her hat and clothes, finally getting them clean. Their busy work on the roadside attracted the envious looks of many passers-by. Who wouldn't be jealous of the food that's gleaming in the car? They drove away quickly and went to buy cloth and cotton tires. Feng Qingxiu sent about 30 kilograms of cornmeal, about 10 kilograms of flour, and about 10 kilograms of wheat bran to Lu Jiang's comrades in the northwest. Although this comrade in arms did not write to them, Feng Qingxiu had recently seen information saying that the conditions in the northwest were very difficult. Therefore, when there was food, Feng Qingxiu sent it to him first to maintain the friendship between Lu Jiang and his comrades. After finishing their work and leaving the city, the road gradually became deserted. A young man in his 20s, riding an old bicycle, stopped in front of their car. First he playfully called big sister, big brother, and they were so intimate that they felt like they knew each other, and then he lowered his voice and said, "Big sister, big brother, let's not talk nonsense. You have food and I have money. Can we make a deal quietly?" Feng Qingxiu shook her head. "In our family, there are elders and younger ones, all of whom are waiting for this little food to eat. If we are not relatives, what can we change?" She didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 276. The young man's face suddenly fell, but he did not give up. He said with a smile, "Sister, my grandma and I live together. She is old and has a throat problem caused by coarse grains, so she just wants to eat white noodles. Please give me some white noodles. Give it to me, I won't treat you badly, big sister. I've been waiting at the door for a long time, and I followed many people, but they are not willing to change it for me. Moreover, they rarely have white noodles, which is what I want to buy. Refined grains, not coarse grains. If you want to buy coarse grains, just go to the black market. Business in the black market has been very good recently. Every time after the summer and autumn harvests, farmers have grain in their hands and are short of money and receipts, so they quietly go to the black market and sell it at a high price. However, people in the city cannot feed their families with commercial grain alone, so they try their luck. However, there are mostly coarse grains and very few fine grains. Who knows whether what you said is true or false, Lu Tianjun choked back. The young man was stunned, turned sideways, with his back to the non-existent passers-by, and took out something from his pocket to show them. As the light passed by, Feng Qingxiu saw a gold bracelet set with rubies. The young man turned his hand and the bracelet slipped back into his trouser pocket. How is it? This is good stuff. Before Feng Qingxiu opened her mouth, Lu Tianjun said eagerly, where did you get it? The young man smiled and said, brother, you can't ask now, right? Where do things come from? Just like I don't ask you where the food comes from, you can't ask. No one talks much in the black market. Of course, it looks like a country boy. It must be a good harvest for this year's harvest. In a word, just tell me whether to change it or not. I didn't show these 10 pounds to those in front. I only want 10 pounds of white flour. It's enough to make pimple soup for my grandma for a month. Lu Tianjun said, there are 2 bracelets, but you have 1. When Feng Qingxiu heard this, she calmly allowed Lu Tianjun to come forward and talk to the young man. Although she didn't understand why Lu Tianjun paid attention to the bracelet, she knew that Lu Tianjun would not speak casually. Maybe the bracelet belonged to the Lu family and he recognized it? There is only one explanation. The young man scratched his head and said, just one, I only have one in my hand. That one is with my brother. My brother's family also needs food. If you are willing, I will match you later. Can you change the pure gold one? Suffer. Lu Tianjun gently pulled Feng Qingxiu's sleeve, and, look, you and your uncle didn't wear jewelry when they got married. Let's use flour to change a bracelet for you to wear. I think that bracelet is shiny and pretty. Besides, the old lady is also quite pitiful, and I can't help but think of Grandpa. At worst, we should eat less white flour in the future, since whole grains can fill our stomachs anyway. Okay, Feng Qingxiu agreed without asking why. The young man was overjoyed, as if he was afraid that they would regret it, so he hurriedly took out the bracelet and stuffed it into Lu Tianjun, then shook open the cloth bag he carried with him. Feng Qingxiu waited and poured him some flour. 10 pounds was only a lot more. The young man took it and waited, with a very satisfied look on his face, and said with a smile, sister, thank you. From now on, when you come to the city and encounter something that is not eye-catching, just report my name, Shenfi Hung. There will definitely be nothing wrong with it. I'm making things difficult for you. There are people in our county and surrounding cities who know me. Feng Qingxiu knew who he was as soon as she heard it. Okay, if something happens in the future, I can't help but tell my brother your name. There is an update today. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 277. Shenfi Hung waved to them, carried the dough bag and rode away on his bicycle. The mule cart continued to move in the opposite direction to him. Lu Tianjun rubbed the bracelet in his hand, his eyes full of nostalgia, and after a long time he said to Feng Qingxiu, "And, you must be curious about why I want to exchange bracelets with him, right?" Feng Qingxiu's response was to touch his head. "I guess it belongs to our Lu family." Guan Cheng, who was sitting next to him, nodded. He thought the same thing. If he came across the jade lock piece given to him by Aunt Su now, he would recognize it at a glance. Shenfi Hung doesn't look like a good person at first glance, but looks like the gangsters he often encounters when begging. I don't know who got it from him, but he offered to exchange it instead of robbing it, which is lucky for them. "It's my mother's dowry," Lu Tianjun said, looking down at the dragon and phoenix bracelets in his hands. "When I was a child, my mother often wore them and told me that when I grow up and get a wife, she would give these bracelets to me as family heirlooms." Wife? However, the bracelet was snatched away when the house was raided. It was very chaotic at that time. I don't know who took it. In fact, I can recognize it at a glance now. In addition to the fact that this bracelet was with me when I was a child, it was also something. Because there is no gem in the phoenix eye on the bracelet. My mother told me that when I was 2 years old, I was very naughty and liked to cause trouble. When I got angry, I would throw everything in my hand to the ground, and I also liked to beat it, which made me angry. My father wanted to beat me, so I cut out the phoenix eyes on the bracelet. I don't remember exactly how it was done. Only today did he realize that his childhood memories were so profound and unforgettable. Feng Qingxiu listened quietly and said softly, "Your mother must love you very much. She has already started planning for you when you are so young." In addition, she didn't know what to say to comfort the young man in front of her, because for him and Guancheng, the past was full of hurt. Well, if my mother were still alive, she would definitely say that 2 bracelets should be given to me and Tianzi's wife. This is called fairness and justice. After Lu Tianjun finished speaking, he put the bracelet in Feng Qingxiu's hand, and, "Here you go, if there is a chance in the future, we will find the other bracelet and make a pair. After the news is over, we can repair it with a goldsmith and it should be restored to its original shape. The red gold is extremely soft, and the bracelet has been deformed, from round to flat, and the silky dragon and phoenix are no longer as exquisite as before." Feng Qingxiu accepted it and said with a smile, "Okay, I'll keep it for you and pass it on to your wife in the future. Although your mother is gone, but I am here, I will do my part as a mother for your mother responsibility." Lu Tianjun's nose felt sour and he turned his head to prevent her from seeing his tears. Guancheng saw it and patted Lu Tianjun on the shoulder. Being able to meet Feng Qingxiu was a blessing they had earned over several lifetimes. They must be filial to her in the future. Feng Qingxiu upholds the word conscience in her life. She has never asked for anything in return for taking care of these children, and she will not treat them badly when it comes to food. So when she got home in the evening, she made a meal of handmade noodles with white flour. The autumn harvest has been busy for more than a month, and the whole family has lost weight. Not only thin, but also dark. Only Feng Qingxiu protected herself well. She secretly applied sunscreen and did little work, so her darkening was not obvious. She felt sorry for her family who had worked so hard for such a long time, and wanted to give them some extra food for the autumn, so she fried green onions and cabbage leaves with lard, and each person had a white and tender poached egg in their noodle bowl. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 278. Because several children were present during the meal, Feng Qingxiu didn't mention what happened today. She didn't want the 3 children to know. Guancheng and Lu Tianjun obviously had the same idea, and they didn't mention a word until the next day. They went to school and went out for the next 2 days. Feng Qingxiu arrived at the cowshed. In broad daylight, while feeding the mules, he told Father Lu about the bracelet. Father Lu's eyes flashed with surprise, and he blurted out, "How is that possible? The pair of dragon and phoenix bracelets set with rubies should be in Miao Fengqin's hands. How could they appear in the city?" Wang Zhenqiu wasn't in such difficulty that he would take his things away, and it wasn't like he didn't know Wang Zhenqiu's family background, and Miao Fengqin wouldn't be stupid enough to take it out. When Feng Qingxiu heard this, she suddenly felt strange. "Dad, why do you say that? Wasn't it robbed during a house raid? It's not impossible for someone to fish in troubled waters and live outside." "That's what I said, but I know who took the bracelet. Now, you suddenly brought one back from outside, which inevitably surprises me, because according to my speculation, their family would not sell such a thing." "Who took the bracelet?" Feng Qingxiu asked curiously. Father Lu shook his head and said nothing. "It's all over, it's pointless to say it, and no one can say that Miao Fengqin, who took the bracelet, is bad and useless. What's more, without looking at the monk's face and the Buddha's face, with Wang Zhenqiu and Feng Qingxiu's uncle and nephew, he couldn't tell this matter to create a gap between husband and wife, uncle and nephew. Feng Qingxiu remembered what Wang Zhenqiu had mentioned, is it that Zhao Dazu? Zhao Dazu, Father Lu was stunned for a moment, then smiled. Back then, this man was the first to raid the house. In recent years, relying on the Lu family's gold and silver treasures, Zhao Dazu's family has lived a comfortable life. Feng Qingxiu knew as soon as she heard that Father Lu didn't want to talk anymore, so she didn't ask further questions. There was little point in pursuing these matters now. Many things were done by people and God was watching. Dad doesn't want to say it, so I won't ask. Tomorrow I will go to the city by myself and bring some food to Shen Fiheng to see if I can exchange it for the other bracelet. Feng Qingxiu put forward her own idea, since it is my sister-in-law said that if I pass something to my daughter-in-law, I can't let it wander around. If I can't get it back, Tianwan will be thinking about it for the rest of his life. Things are external to the body. Tianjun will understand. We still have things at home. You have a body now. Feng Qingxiu interrupted, Dad, it's okay, I'm not that delicate. Besides, we must not let go of our family's things, even if they are pieces of grass or paper, when we have the chance to get them back. In the future, your grandchildren will grow up when they get older. Let's talk about the history of our ancestors, so as to have some evidence to open their eyes. Father Lu's eyes suddenly became moist. Feng Qingxiu did what she said, and she got up early the next day and went into the city. When she asked people about Shen Fiheng, everyone knew about him. Someone immediately said, he is not home until dinner time. He will definitely not be here at this time. If you go shopping in the black market, you might meet him. Feng Qingxiu didn't understand what they meant. She was wearing ragged clothes and blackened her hands and face today, but she wasn't afraid of entering the black market again. There are quite a lot of people in the black market, and you can spot a lot of old farmers at a glance. As Shen Fiheng said, when farmers have food in their hands and are short of money and tickets, they come to the black market to make deals with city people. I updated 2 chapters in a thrilling way. The rest will probably be tomorrow afternoon or the day after tomorrow. I will buy a new copy tomorrow. I have finished writing, but the notebook is out of battery. The cord is broken. I updated 2 chapters in a thrilling 2 minutes. Computer, it's black. I haven't had time to update there. I'm currently leaving a message on the mobile assistant. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 279. Feng Qingxiu turned around and didn't find Shen Fiheng, but she saw Wang Dachun, the eldest cousin of her uncle's family. Wang Dachun was carrying a pole with bamboo baskets hanging on both ends. The heavy bamboo basket bent the pole. He also saw Feng Qingxiu. They lived in the same production brigade and often visited each other. It was not like he had never seen Feng Qingxiu act ugly, so he recognized him at a glance. He shook his head at Feng Qingxiu and did not speak to her. Feng Qingxiu understood very well, so she didn't come forward to say hello to him, pretending to be a stranger. Wang Dachun quickly negotiated a deal with someone and left the black market one after another. He must have found a place where no one was around to do it. Feng Qingxiu didn't see Shen Fiheng and was about to leave when an old woman carrying a backpack walked up to her and whispered, "My daughter, do you still recognize me?" As she spoke, she stared at Feng Qingxiu. "The backpack behind you." There were so many people she had dealt with Feng Qingxiu that she couldn't even remember them. So, she shook her head and said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I have a bad memory, please bear with me." The old woman didn't find it strange and whispered, Last year, under the old elm tree, I exchanged a diamond ring for 8 pounds of thick noodles for you. Feng Qingxiu thought for a while, and it seemed that this was really the case. During that time, she often changed her clothes, traveled to various black markets, and exchanged food for many things, such as diamond rings, jade bracelets, an authentic calligraphy and painting by a famous artist, and a pure mud inkstone. Did you ask me for something? Feng Qingxiu neither admitted nor denied it. He looked down and saw that he was recognized. He seemed to be wearing some of his old clothes. The old woman doesn't care whether Feng Qingxiu Cheng admits it or not, as long as the other party has food. Can you give me some food in exchange? Coarse grains, whole grains are fine, as long as they can fill my stomach. Feng Qingxiu sighed. Although the Wanglu Brigade had a good harvest, the situation in other places was still not optimistic. You come with me. Feng Qingxiu left the black market first, wandered around for a while, and walked to a place where no one was paying attention. After a while, the old woman hurried over, panting, and stretched out her hand in front of Feng Qingxiu. In her palm was an emerald pendant with a platinum base and a ring of white diamonds in the middle. Green. Under the sun, it is brilliant. Girl, look how much food you can exchange for it. She kept this thing to see if she could eat it. She had to worry about it every day, fearing that her house would be ransacked. She tried her best to use the period after the autumn harvest to go in and out of the black market to exchange food. In this way, winter would be the best. Don't worry, I brought more or less food back home in the past 2 days, but who wants too much food? If you can change more, and store them at home. Feng Qingxiu took out a bag of about 10 kilograms of cornmeal from her backpack. That's all I have. The old woman's eyes lit up. Change, it was beyond her imagination. Yesterday, she exchanged a gold ring set with rubies for 20 kilograms of sweet potatoes, fresh sweet potatoes, not dried sweet potatoes. She was afraid that Feng Qingxiu would regret it, so she quickly put the emerald pendant into her hand and said expectantly, "Daughter, this pendant also comes with a pair of earrings, a ring, and a brooch. They are all good things. Before liberation, foreigners brought them from overseas. Can you get me some more food? I'll give all the jewelry to you and not to anyone else. Let's talk about it when we have a chance. Our family's food supply is also very tight." Feng Qingxiu put the pendant away and poured the cornmeal into the pocket she brought, but she didn't agree at all. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 280. Although the old woman felt regretful, she still said, "Okay, I'll keep it for you. If we meet by fate, you must not refuse me." Feng Qingxiu smiled and nodded, and the two parted ways. When they were about to approach another black market, Feng Qingxiu suddenly stopped and stood on the side of the road without going any further. Because she saw many people fleeing in all directions, all in a hurry. Some people had fast legs and feet and could run so fast. Feng Qingxiu ran beside him and stayed away from the black market. Old people with bad legs and feet and women who couldn't run fast were miserable. They were dejected. Next to them were people wearing red armbands and wearing military green clothes. There were young men and women, and it was hard to tell who they were just by looking at their clothes, but it was obvious that they were inspecting the black market for trading supplies. The state strictly prohibits illegal activities of privately trading materials. An old man wearing an old Chinese tunic suit said impatiently, "Comrade, I'm just resting under the old elm tree. Why are you arresting me? Look, I have no money or anything on me." As he spoke, he opened his pockets and found that they were indeed empty. A young man who was escorting him frowned when he saw this. "Let's go." After the old man left, the other people who were caught followed suit. Having no money or anything on them meant there was no evidence. Those who came to sell food with food stamps on their backs did not leave the black market to trade because they had not reached a good deal. All were confiscated. Not only being confiscated, but also having to accept criticism and education. Among these people, there was Shenfi Hung. Feng Qingxiu frowned. She saw that Shenfi Hung's backpack had been confiscated. She didn't know if he was here to sell things or buy food. Anyway, he was caught red-handed, but while others were hanging their heads, he was holding his neck. He faced a young woman who criticized him. "Comrade, why are you arresting me? I just like to wander around." "Some bastard threw the backpack at my feet and ran away. The backpack hit my feet, and I was in pain. You guys are just here. The things are not mine. Why are you criticizing me? I can't bear this crime. Who doesn't know that I have no family, no job, no salary, and a wife at home? Grandma, my grandma, and grandson all live on that small amount of food. How can I sell it on the black market?" The young woman was only about 18 or 19 years old, and she was stunned by what he said. Feng Qingxiu thought for a while, then walked over and said hello to the young woman. "Comrade, I saw this when I just passed by. Someone framed him." The young woman looked at Feng Qingxiu. "Really?" "Yeah," Feng Qingxiu nodded heavily. "Then why are you carrying a backpack? Don't you know this is a place where crimes are committed?" Shenfi Hung's eyes lit up when he saw Feng Qingxiu. Hearing what the young woman said, he suddenly became unhappy. "Comrade, this road goes halfway toward the sky. Why can't a big girl like me pass by here? This big girl, those who came from the countryside came to see me." Shenfi Hung. "If you don't believe me, go and ask around and ask if this is the way to go to my house." As soon as he heard the words Shenfi Hung, the young man next to him who was criticizing others immediately said, "Cao Jing, let him go." Shenfi Hung and Feng Qingxiu left the Old Elms Black Market location with his chest raised and his head raised. "Thank you, big sister, I owe you a favor today," Shenfi Hung said with a smile. Feng Qingxiu said straight to the point, "Brother, I really came to find you. I liked that bracelet yesterday very much. Please give me a string. I want to use food to exchange for that one." These 2 chapters were supposed to be updated yesterday, but the computer burped, so I had to rewrite and update today. I was taking care of my naughty child at home, and my sister and brother-in-law helped me buy a computer. I was bleeding heavily today. Not only my wallet was bleeding, but my face was also bleeding. I was beaten by the naughty child. Scratched my face. There are still 4 chapters left in the afternoon, which is the amount of updates today. I should be able to type faster when I get a new notebook.